Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Sachin Karnik here. Today is the 5th of May, 2026. We are on week number 18, year number 3 of the online personal transformation program. It is such a wonderful blessing for me that all of you are online this evening. I think, missed last week because of some scheduling conflict on my part, and I'm still in the process of loading some of the past videos, but it'll be available soon. Please remember that in year number 3, our goal is to crack the door open into self-mastery, just to crack it open. This is our goal this year, and then open that door further, where that door opens completely in year number 4, and then that is called sustained self-mastery. So we want to move into self-mastery and then sustain self-mastery in year number 4. That'll be 2027. Couple of review points, just as a quick refresher. The TEMDE refers to thoughts, emotions, memories, desires, energy. You should all know that by now. That's 5. The 6 are quantity, quality, direction, dimension, depth, and structure, right? And then the other 5, energy, equalization, energy revitalization, etc. Those 5 points. And this is all part of reaching self-mastery. Now, one of the key concepts that we have been trying to open further and practice on a week-to-week basis, day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, is the consistent follow-through with predetermined action. I hope you remember this. Hopefully you've tried it also. And that is how the transformation process will really take hold. Because the fact of the matter is the only thing we really have is the present moment. That's it. And our mind is very fast. It goes in God knows how many directions. But when we predetermine that in the next hour, Sachin is going to do these 3 things, 4 things, and then follow through with that, it builds ego strength, good quality ego. It builds our sense of self-worth. It builds better quality energy, and it takes us one step forward towards self-mastery. So, for example, if in a day like today, let's say the 5th of May, if Sachin actually followed through for the last 7 hours, what I decided to do, and I didn't deviate from that, then for those 7 hours, I have made a small crack, maybe a bigger crack even, into self-mastery. I've opened that doorway a bit. Because that door's been closed for our whole life. It's been closed for almost nearly all of humanity. Very few have ever even opened that door, right? So we don't know how many, but it's relatively very, very few percentage. But the concept here, the theory here, the belief on my part, particularly in angel wing in general, is that this is possible for every single human being. Assuming certain conditions, brain is working okay, and there's no injuries, and there's no brain damage and stuff like that. It's applied. It's person specific, situation specific. So it's possible for all of us, but it's only going to become real once we apply these ideas. Now we're going to go into this a bit further. Additionally, along these lines, just hold on one second here. Let me see if I can find this thing actually. Okay, hold on. Okay, so you should see this on your screen here. And I will send this in the WhatsApp. I'll make this a little bit bigger here for you. And if you're taking notes, please do take notes. Absolutely all right. Just make some bullet points. It's all right. We're going to look at this paragraph here about self-integrity. This is very interesting. I'm going to read this paragraph in its entirety first, and then we will open it up very carefully, and then we'll get into discussion dialogue in about 20-25 minutes or so. So, consistent follow-through establishes self-integrity by repeatedly aligning what is intended with what is enacted. In psychological terms, integrity is not primarily a moral attribute. It is a structural property of the person's internal organization. When an individual forms an intention, converts it into a commitment, and then executes that commitment, the mind receives a stabilizing signal. My inner declarations are reliable. This reliability functions as a continual binding process that links decision-making to action, reducing internal fragmentation and preserving continuity of purpose across time. Right? That's a mouthful. It's jam-packed with meaning. We're going to break it down word by word, half sentence at a time. Let's be very clear to understand what this means. We have been saying right from the beginning of this year, year number 3, about consistent follow-through. Assume for a moment we're doing that. As I mentioned, for the last 7 hours, if Sachin actually did follow through on what I've decided to do, with flexibility, obviously, not rigidity, but flexibility as needed. What does that do? It establishes self-integrity. That's very interesting. Self-integrity is foundational to self-mastery. Without self-integrity, there can never be self-mastery. So what is self-integrity? It is the internal coherence between intention, commitment, and behavior. This is a master key. See, these are master keys into self-mastery. These are keys into self-mastery. It's very beautiful. So, 2 things to keep in mind. Just want to talk a little bit about this. The concepts being presented for me and for all of you, they must be, not that they should be, they must be absolutely lucid, absolutely clear. And if they're not clear, we can discuss as long as you want, because I have nothing scheduled after this. This is the reason why I want to spend as much time with all of you as possible. If there's any lack of clarity, anything you want to say, please keep this in mind. Because if there is distortion in our understanding, mine and yours, we will not be able to reach self-mastery in the best way possible. We will wind up spinning in circles. So there must not be distortion in our application, and that's only possible when there is no distortion in our understanding. Right? I hope this is this is my humble, heartfelt request to all of you and to myself also. I just wanted to say that because these things are powerful. I mean, they're powerful, they're amazing. Right? Every single concept is amazing. And you find we know it's amazing as we apply it, not because Sachin is saying so. So let's be very clear. What is self-integrity? It is internal coherence between 3 things, or among 3 things: intention, commitment, and behavior. Let's talk about that. My intention for the next hour, my intention for the next week. I have things scheduled, I have people to see. You have your schedules, I have my schedule. I have my next, the hour at a time is really where life is happening. I may look at my calendar for the next whole 3 or 4 months. That's all okay. But where's my life actually happening? My life is actually happening in the present, right now. So my intention is in the present. The intention there have been intentions in the past, but right now, what is my intention? My intention to experience and to build the next hour. The hour that is coming up, which is happening a moment at a time, just like right now. I started at 8 o'clock sharp. It's already 8:20. I've built 20 minutes of the past. I have decided already, before I started the presentation, what this should be. Did some research on it, meditated on it, prayed also that, may this all actually come into my life, into everyone's life. Things like that, right? So the intention, in my case here, is to build the experience from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Tuesday evenings. I hope that makes sense. Now, that intention has been there for since since last 2 years, over 2 years now. This is the third year. And we have not deviated unless there was some scheduling conflict. That's the flexibility part, right? There was 2 things I couldn't get out of last week, and there was one time before that. So twice we missed this year so far. I really don't want to miss at all, but sometimes it's unavoidable. It's okay. Be very clear, absolutely clear. It's not about my covering volumes of material. Please be absolutely clear about these points. First of all, internal coherence. Dr. Chaitanya, Dr. Berman have talked a lot about this. We've talked about it also. Others have talked about it. Talking about it is okay. Listening about it is good. But our program here it is not about hearing from one ear and leaving the other ear without it settling inside. We want to hear from both ears and let it sit in the heart, in our mind, in our heart. So this concept of self-integrity, please write it down on a 3x5 card in your notebooks this week, because this is a week-to-week program. What is our practical exercise this week? Is to develop deliberately, consciously, self-integrity. That's it. We're going to do that together. Don't back off. I'm telling myself. I don't have any authority to tell anybody anything. You've got to tell yourself. That is my humble request only. Nobody can tell us to do this. Nobody can make us do this. We have to do this ourselves. We can take the help of prayer, meditation, relying on God. People say, God will do everything. Yeah, this is a spiritual question. God may be doing everything in a more metaphysical sense. Nonetheless, we have responsibility of what to do now. So that's a more metaphysical, religious question. I don't want to go into that. But what we can decide, I can decide, you can decide, to apply self-integrity, to develop self-integrity this week. All right, now, what is self-integrity? First of all, there is internal coherence. You know what those 2 words mean? Beautiful words, beautiful words. Internal coherence is only possible with the best type of relationship with the outside world. If the relationship is contaminated, relationship is disturbed, relationship is agitated, relationship has got over-involvement, under-involvement, all those kinds of imbalances, which we've talked about in previous last 2 years, there cannot be internal coherence. The external right amount of energy across 12 dimensions. If you remember the diagram, 12-dimension diagram, putting energy, pulling out energy, using time in the right way, time and energy, across 12 dimensions, family and recreation and food and health and everything, right? Occupation, all 12 dimensions. That is the external interaction which is impacting the internal. So self-integrity begins by deciding 1 hour at a time, at the top of each hour or a few minutes before the hour, I am in a state of internal coherence. I am going to develop internal coherence. I want coherence and I don't want any deviation from that. Okay. We make the intention, say that. Say it actually. This is all practical. It's not just theories and ideas. Those theories and ideas will have no use whatsoever until these are applied. Now, if I say that, Sachin says, I am in coherence, I want coherence, 3 things have to come together. My intention for what I want to do, what is going to be done in the next hour, next 2 hours, 3 hours throughout the day. My commitment to taking the right actions. How committed am I? If I'm not committed to it, it's not going to happen. I may have the best intention. My commitment can falter. Even if I have the best commitment, even if I have the best intention, and use the capital pronoun I, that's not ego, it's perfectly okay. Sachin can say, I have the right intentions, I have the right commitments, but, maybe I'll follow through, maybe I won't do this, maybe this, that. Now, my behavior is not in alignment with that. So the coherence is between intention, commitment, and behavior. My behavior is just going to happen without any kind of re-examination. We've talked about that before. So these three words, these 3 points come together. First, my intention. For example, I could have the intention that I want to, that I'm going to do research on the internet for an hour, which I do quite often, let's say. All right, I could have that intention. I may even be committed to that. But then my thoughts change, right? When the time comes, I don't feel like doing it now. Maybe I'll do it later. It's not something. I renegotiate it, I don't follow through. And that's a problem. So that prevents self-mastery. Right? Self-integrity is very, very empowering, because the more we cohere by intention, commitment, and behavior, we follow through with these three combined together, by repeatedly aligning what is intended with what is enacted, what happens? Our integrity increases. Our self-integrity, our self-worth, self-esteem, self-image, everything gets better. Other situations outside will not disturb that. But if we don't have this developed, easily outside situations will easily disturb, easily cause suffering, agitations, other things like this. Right? I hope these points are clear. Now the next sentence. In psychological terms, integrity is not primarily a moral attribute. Yeah, it's true. Integrity is a moral attribute, but here the way it is talked about, it is what? It is a structural property of the person's internal organization. Look at this sentence carefully. Very powerful. Amazing. It's now, where is this internal organization? This internal organization is what? This is the TEMDE. Thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. This is organized inside. So, integrity is a structural property, because we get structured from inside. We're structuring our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts. They're aligning properly. They're cohering properly. Because we are clear, our mind is clear about what ought to be done in the next hour, in the next day, etc. This is how life unfolds. Life doesn't unfold just like that. We can either be victims of circumstance and just reactive, or we can be masters of our life. Yes. Mastery means deciding lucidly, or self-integrity, internal coherence means bringing about lucidity. Lucidity means absolutely clear that this is the way it's going to be, and there's not going to be deviation from that. Not in terms of a fanatical rigidity, not that type. There is some flexibility always as needed, but there is no compromise on self-integrity. There is no compromise on internal coherence. And that is what brings about joy. It brings about balance. Balance is not damaged. Balance is sustained by this. That is why the coherence between intention, commitment, and behavior is a structural property. It's a very interesting word, structure. It's a structural property of our internal organization, because the structure becomes formed fantastically, beautifully. And as a result of that, there is the reduction of resistance internally. Let's look at the next sentence. When an individual forms an intention, converts it into a commitment, and then executes that commitment, the mind receives a stabilizing signal my inner declarations are reliable. This is how we train our mind. This is training, folks, training. Absolutely necessary for further development. We have to train our mind. So the mind is trained by getting stabilizing signals. They are received when we, as individuals, take our intentions. First, you got to form the right intentions. That requires a meditative, reflective viewpoint. What should I be intending? What are my intentions here? Intentions that are converted into commitment. Now I'm committed. I'm committed to do this. I'm committed to take these 3 steps in the next hour. Committed to finishing these 3 projects. Committed to keeping my room clean. Whatever. Start with small things. Intention converts into commitment and execution of that commitment, and then executes that commitment. So there's the intention, commitment, and execution, which is behavior. When we do this again and again, start with small things. They're not small. It sounds like a small thing, but it's not. All of our household activities, all of our different types of interactions, keep them consistent, follow through, don't delay, don't procrastinate, don't bring resistance, keep the right kind of flexibility. Don't overeat, don't undereat, decide what to eat, decide what to watch, what to not watch, what to hear, all actions. So intention is formed, then it is converted to commitment, and then there's execution. When we do this, our mind receives a stabilizing signal that my inner declarations are reliable. The mind is looking for this. We are looking for this actually, but it's been so mixed up for so many years. That's why there's so much unhappiness in life, so many imbalances in life, so many problems and conflicts and agitations, because our inner declarations are not reliable. Right? So my inner declarations are reliable. Now, this reliability, this is the last sentence for today. Then we'll open it up for conversation. And we'll do the closing song actually before we actually open it up, just to keep our tradition alive here. Look at this sentence in red. Amazing, right? This reliability functions as a continual, quote, binding process that links decision making to action, reducing internal fragmentation and preserving continuity of purpose across time. It's a mouthful. Let's break it down. Once the reliability is there, again and again we are following through, that reliability functions as a continual binding process. What does it bind? It links decision making to action. I made a decision, I'm acting on it. I made the right decision, and that reduces internal fragmentation. Our thoughts are going one direction, emotions are going another, all kinds of chaos inside is reduced. It preserves continuity of purpose. Let's go very slow with this. Continuity of purpose is preserved. What is my purpose in the next hour? And it doesn't have to be big intellectual stuff. It's just enjoyments. You can say, I'm going to watch a series, I'm going to fold my clothes, I'm going to get it clear and follow through. Get it clear and follow through. And as this continues further and further and further, our development of self-integrity grows. It establishes and it grows. And if you look at the next sentence here, this coherence, well, actually, we'll cover this next time. But let me just read it very quickly. This coherence is foundational to the stability of the self system. We'll talk about that next time. This is good enough for now. Right, so I hope these points are clear. They are recorded here. I will be loading them shortly. Would love to hear from all of you. Let's stop here for now, and I'll play the closing song.